Hello, this is the chapter reading of The Dawn, Her Three Immortals, Book 1 by Hazel Storm. Chapter 1, Vanessa. Grandpa used to say, when you can no longer find joy in life, you might as well hand over the keys. And when his time came, he did. To me. The keys to his car. Dante, that is. Dante's tires spray gray slush across the sidewalk as I slow and steer Grandpa's classic cherry red Beetle toward the edge of the road to let an oversized SUV pass. Given the low-profile tires and fancy lights, its driver has to be loaded or famous. Maybe both, and definitely not a day over 30. As the SUV speeds ahead of Dante and me, wet snow spins off its tires and splats across Dante's windshield and half the car. I flip the wipers on quick before I steer off the road into Mrs. Gallagher's front yard. She's a sweet old lady, like a lot of my neighbors, but she wouldn't thank me for taking out her fence. 100 yards down, I pull into our driveway. Globs of icy wetness slide down the side windows into a sloppy pile. I lower my knee-high boots into the mess, unworried. They're platforms, faux leather with anti-slip soles and way more robust than their expensive counterparts. Yes, I'm a slave to fashion, but I won't risk my neck or my pocketbook for its satisfaction. As to my wardrobe, I'm an aficionado like Grandpa. He was the god of the New York fashion industry in his day. I'd like to say his amazing talent as a designer rubbed off on me, but I'm a shadow in the past light of his brilliance. I grab the groceries and my purse off the back seat. Tonight I'm in the mood to celebrate. 3 days into January and things are looking up. An unexpected New Year bonus has tugged my bank account back from the brink, and Mindy offered me extra hours at the beauty salon. True, I'd be making more if I'd gone into accounting like Mom. I mean, hairdressing isn't exactly quantum physics, but it's something I'm good at and enjoy. I pull in a deep breath. Yes, things are doing an about face. With those extra dollars coming in, Mom and I can focus on getting my brother Piper better instead of worrying over bills. Dante's door creaks as I swing it shut. The gold flame detailing along the car's side is mostly hidden under a crust of smoke-colored snow. 'Tis the season. Across the street, white Christmas lights lace Fran's front porch. That fancy SUV is pulled into her driveway, so she's the one with the wealthy visitor. I wonder if it's someone I'll recognize. Her front door opens and Fran's grandson, Dorian, steps out. "Love you, Mom," he says to Stella, who stands on the threshold looking less enthusiastic than a loving mom probably should. Things on her mind, I'll bet. She's the worrying type, at least when it comes to Dorian. He spots me, so I grin and wave to be neighborly. They're nice people. Dorian ran with the wrong crowd when he was a kid, but seems to be doing all right for himself. Given the new wheels, I'd say so, though he needs to dial down his internal speed demon. "Hey, girlfriend," he calls. He's dressed in a leather jacket and... Are those cowboy boots? Hard to tell in the dim light. The rest of him could use some work. His scruffy appearance might look great on a rock star, but not on Dorian. Maybe I'll offer him a free cut when I head over to style Fran's hair next week. "Hey, guys." Not looking to chit-chat, I give another quick wave and make my way to the front door. Stella's face lights up. "Hi, Vanessa. Fran can't wait to see you next Thursday. How's Piper? Doing better?" I suck in a hope-filled breath and nod. Definitely. The holidays made a great distraction. And as long as the momentum holds, we'll slide into spring no problem. "Say hi to your mom for me," Stella calls sweetly as I reach the door. "Talk to you later." I close the door to their farewells and look around. Darkness. Piper won't have left his room. My brother's a hermit at the best of times, but Mom should be home. Why aren't the lights on? "Mom?" All's quiet as I walk through the living room and into the hall. That's when I hear quiet sobs slipping through Mom's door. I dump the groceries on the floor and hurry to the end of the corridor. A light knock and the crying stops. "Mom?" I whisper, glancing over my shoulder as I turn the knob. Light shines under Piper's door at the opposite end of the hallway, reassuring me he's beyond hearing. I poke my head into Mom's room where a soft glow shines in through the bedroom window. A shadowy form on the bed turns over. Mom, are you okay? What's going on? It's not like her to hide in the dark. Cautiously, I navigate the space to her bedside and reach out, my fingers finding the silky weave of cashmere. Her sweater appears gray in the dimness, but the garment is pink, her favorite cherry blossom shade. She shifts over so I can sit and wraps her arms around me. Her quiet sobs return, and I'm glad I closed the door. Mom wouldn't want Piper hearing. He hates it when we're sad, always thinking it's his fault. But getting sick isn't. For that, I blame the gods. I hug Mom and wait patiently. As much as it hurts me to see her this way, she'll talk when she's ready. We should start dinner, she murmurs, accepting the tissue I offer. Piper will be hungry. As a fast-growing 12-year-old, he always used to be hungry. But since his diagnosis, Piper's passion for Mom's homemade ravioli swimming in the best Alfredo sauce ever fell to the wayside, along with all of his other favorites. I bet he is, I say brightly. But why don't you tell me what's wrong first? Mom sniffs, her breath shaky as she struggles for control. The silence between us stretches, but still, I don't rush her. Maybe partly because I'm afraid to know. Dr. Steele called this afternoon with Piper's lab results. Mom's voice cracks and she swallows thickly. The cancer has metastasized. She said that Piper only has a few months. Her papery voice fades while ice forms in my chest. It steals my breath, and for several moments, what little light there is in the room spins. A lump builds in my throat, but I force it down. I have to be strong. I must find a solution, because there's no way Piper's going anywhere on my watch. Chapter 2. Gray. I lean over the desk in my glass-walled office and stare at the figures floating across my laptop screen. Production is dropped in the fire pits of TARDIS at the worst possible time, and as Dawn of the Underworld, I've got to get these numbers up, or there'll be hell to pay in all its shades of gray. Collapsing into my chair, I clench both hands. Machines won't run in TARDIS. Only tainted souls can work there, and Typhon's whips and dragon heads keep the labor force at full throttle. But the harder Ty pushes the workers, the faster their souls fade into wisps, spent and utterly useless. We need a fresh workforce. That's the only answer. I toggle to a new window and query for the soul contracts coming due. A few dozen? Not enough. Huffing, I turn from the numbers and stare through the glass walls of my top-floor office in the second tallest building in Elysium. From this vantage point, I can oversee the whole city, an area the size of Manhattan in the overworld. Gazing across the skyline, I focus on a pedestal just visible between high-rises. It sits on an island in the middle of the lava lake that separates the city from the Asphodel Meadows, the place where all the uninteresting souls go. My mother's desire make that her need to erect a monument in her own honor has landed this production problem in my lap. If she had an ounce of patience, I grumble. It's not like we don't have all of eternity, but she lives by the seasons, and each one that passes falls like a lead pellet into the iron bucket of her discontent. I rub my neck, attention drawn from the dullness of the city lights to a rhythmic thumping against the only opaque wall in my office. A frown settles, but I return my attention to the rows of mind-numbing digits. The thuds against the wall behind me speed up until they crescendo with an orgasmic scream that throws my gaze to the ceiling. I glance at my watch. Delilah's lunch hour just ended. She saunters down the hall, brushing her pencil skirt over shapely thighs while her hips swish with an air of smugness. A guy follows a few steps behind, wearing an expression to match, and disappears into the elevator lobby. I gesture to Delilah through the glass wall edging the corridor. She nods as she turns the corner to reach my door. Yes, Gray. How was lunch? I ask politely. My assistant's lingering smile stretches into a cat-like grin. Joel from accounting joined me in the break room. I hope you enjoyed your meal. Not that the dead need to eat, but I hadn't been referring to food exactly. Those who make it to Elysium are the heroes, the souls of humans whose selflessness in life earned them the right to enjoy whatever excesses the underworld has to offer. As the only sin city in our realm, Elysium supplies answers for those yearnings as successfully as any overworld city. But here, anything goes, as long as all parties are willing. Lunch was delicious, thank you. The way Delilah says delicious makes me struggle to contain my smile, and I try not to think about a long list of food euphemisms that start, unsurprisingly, with footlong. It's been a while since I was last with a woman, a couple of centuries at least. That's the problem with all you can eat all the time. The novelty wears off. Who needs excess for its own sake? I'm the god of excess, so I should know. Being out of control isn't all it's cracked up to be. Delilah rests an elbow against the doorframe. What do you need, Gray? Her cool question knocks me out of my musing. A meeting set up with Ty for tomorrow morning. Her mouth pops open. Here? No, I'll go to Tartarus. Not my favorite place in the underworld, but Ty is a 100 dragon-headed bull in a china shop. The last time we met in Elysium, he burned down a dozen city blocks. Well, that's a relief, Delilah murmurs. I'll get right on it. You can get right on me too if you like, says a low voice behind her. She turns and presses her back against the door jamb, revealing Pan, who stands a foot shorter and eye level with the voluptuous flesh threatening to escape Delilah's tight-fitting blouse. It's hard to tell given his nest-worthy beard, but he could be drooling. Delilah glances down, tugging my notice to the reaction her proximity is having on Pan's dick. Pan sniffs the air, steeped in residual sex hormones, in the wake of Delilah's lunchroom activities. A sleepy smile fills his face. You and me, he says. We should hook up. She smirks and saunters past him, brushing the bulge in his pants with her hip. Pan's bearded face tenses into a look approaching agony. Lips pursed, I circle my desk to lean against its edge, arms crossed. Too bad you weren't here 15 minutes ago. You could have made it a threesome. Delilah glances over her shoulder as she walks away, shaking her head. Not you? Pan's eyes practically pop from his head as he scratches the base of one of his thick goat horns. Didn't think Dell was your type. I harumph. New guy in accounting. Joel, I think she said his name was. Pan steps into my office and closes the glass door. His goaty scent wafts through the room. Not unpleasant, more earthy, natural, and sweet. He's a creature of the woods and prefers the company of pines, laurels, and an assembly of sexy nymphs over the glass and steel of Elysium. The smell of his overworld forest is a far cry from the tangy scents of hot ore and exhaust fumes amid the acrid odor of molten rock and spent souls. Souls that need to be replaced. As if sensing my shift in thought, he says, We've got a wee bit of a problem, boss. My brow twitches. We do we? I prefer he deals with whatever earthly problem lingers on his tongue. He spreads his arms dramatically and says, So, I'm waiting for this guy whose contract is up in a month. He called the meeting. I show up. The guy's late, of course. Arms still crossed, I tap my foot, wishing Pan would get to the meat of his problem. He nods, acknowledging my impatience, and hurries on. Dorian's his name. A scrappy lowlife who contracted his soul for a rise in the ranks. He heads a drug syndicate. Has a dozen heavies and 100+ dealers, makes a decent take, and keeps the bulk of it for himself. He's that kind, you know? Oh, I certainly do. Selfishness is the backbone of industry in all the realms. The overworld keeps it at bay no more successfully than we do, and the top of the mount isn't much better. Zeus and those of his heavenly offspring settled up there are a self-centered bunch. Not to say my father's egocentricity wasn't passed down to me, but I like to think I've matured beyond the gluttony of the upper world gods. Selfish souls are my bread and butter. I can spot one a realm away, and this Dorian guy is no exception. I give Pan a slow nod that says, and? Yeah, he continues. So Dorian arrives 10 minutes late and says, Pan shakes out his shoulders, then shifts to one side to enact the human's part. Yo, devil guy. Pan jumps into his previous position, and I say, what do you want? thinking he's the lowest form of life. Your time's nearly up, but he just shrugs and says, Pan switches sides. I want an extension. 5 years wasn't enough. It took nearly that long to make it to the top. I want a century to enjoy my success. Pan resets to Billy Goat Gruff. And I say, you're kidding, right? You read the small print. I saw you. No extensions, no renegotiations. All contracts are final and 100% irrevocable. And you want to know why that is? I don't wait for his answer. Because you've only got one soul, bozo, and you already sold it. Pan resumes his role as Dorian, shoulders twitching and hands gesticulating. Not my soul, but I could get you others, like be the go-between. The boys working for me all have needs. Pan air quotes. They're the types who take a short-term contract, give them a week of bliss, and their souls would be yours for the plucking. My gaze narrows on the satyr. Pan hurries on. I told him only the Don can renegotiate a contract, and he says, then set up a meeting. Doesn't have to be here. Better it isn't if he's all hell's fire and brimstone. Don't want my mother seeing the devil. She'll have a heart attack. And I say, the Don, not the devil. I pull away from the desk. How many boys did you say work for him? Pan ponders the question. 100 at least? Of the most disastrously soul variety. A smile stretches his lips. I'd say Defoe. I wince. Did we really put a weasel like him at the top of a crime syndicate? Pan drops his head like he thinks I have a problem with that. He sticks his hairy hands into his sweatshirt pockets and kicks at the mottled gray carpet. That's what he wanted. Pan glances up, and I bet he'd sell his mother's soul if you asked him. Then I won't, I say dryly, then frown, not liking the suggestion that I have any intention of talking to this low life, except 100 tainted souls would ease the squeeze in Tartarus and keep the construction of Mother's statue of Libera on schedule. Keeping her happy means avoiding one of her dreaded tantrums. The world has enough problems without adding a raging earthquake to the mix. Natural disasters bring death to innocence, which doesn't help my production. We need damned souls. Does that mean you'll take him? Amazement quivers through Pan's question. I rub my chin between a thumb and forefinger. 100 tainted souls, and not one less. Thank you.